Hey, this is Christian, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about some changes I'm going to be making. I know, whoa, let's take it easy for a second. No one likes change, but it's about time. So, for the past 3 weeks, I've been focusing on algorithm problems, and you all have seen me struggle. It's been really, really fun though. I've learned a lot. I feel like my programming has progressed quite a bit. I'm still on the easy problems, but um, I'm more comfortable with programming. I'm definitely gotten into the mindset of a programmer again, which is something that I've really been rusty on since I've been out of the game for almost 4 years. So, what I wanted to talk about was a new direction I'm going to be going in. So I'm going to continue doing the two algorithm problems on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and on Saturdays I'm going to change it up. I'm going to be taking on a bigger project. I haven't determined exactly what that project's going to be yet, but for the time being, I've been focusing on learning full stack development. For those of you guys that don't know what it is, it's essentially like front end, back end, for web applications and mobile applications. Those are two examples. And the program I'm going to be using is Python. Python, I don't really know too much about it. I've been watching videos on it. I just know that there's a lot of like really, really, really passionate Python people out there. People are always like, yeah, Python's this, Python's that. It's like those people that drive stick shift. You know how they're always saying, "Oh, I would never drive an automatic car. It's just not the same, you know. You don't have full control." That's how I feel like Python people are like stick shift people. It's I don't know, it's kind of a lifestyle. But so that's what I'm going to be focusing on. I've been watching tutorials already, and hopefully I'm hoping to get done with these tutorials by later this week, and so that way I can start focusing on what project I'm going to tackle. And I don't know, I'm really excited. I don't know, from my experience, I learned really, really well from big projects. The reason is, I've been doing these small algorithm problems, so I'll be really good at solving individual ideas, but bigger projects, you have a ton of those little ideas, these little algorithms that you have to solve, and then you have to put them all together. You have to have five, five is a small number, but you have to have, five different methods that work on five different things, and they all gotta um, collaborate. They all have to complement each other. They all have to work together. And doing that is when I feel like I learn the best. And I know you guys have noticed that after you do a big project, the smaller little things that you have to do are a lot easier because you've taken on, a bigger idea. You've done more of those. And I know for a fact you guys, I don't know how I'm going to document it yet, but you're going to see that as I'm doing the project, when I'm doing the algorithm videos, I feel like you're going to see a lot of improvement. And I'm going to be able to implement the concepts I'm learning from my readings on Clean Code a lot more. And those ideas, those concepts are going to be ingrained a lot deeper as I go through. Um, something I'm afraid that because I start school on Monday, and something I've been a little bit worried about is kind of slacking on my clean code and whatnot for my school projects. But that's something I'm gonna have to keep myself accountable to. I need to keep implementing these ideas, so when I work with the team, I take on big projects, like even bigger than what I'm gonna be doing individually. But when I'm working with the team, I have to be able to communicate with them through my code. I don't want them to be calling me in the middle of the day or the middle of the night to explain some method that I wrote because they don't understand what it does because it's not clear because I did a bad job of writing it. That's something I don't want. I want it to be very, very easy to follow. And, if I need to add a comment, that it's very, very basic, that just like a small explanation. So that's something I've been thinking about quite a bit lately. And I don't know. I'm very excited about what's to come. And I've been going back and watching my videos, and it's been interesting to watch my growth. You know, my first few videos, they're a little, I don't know, my speaking isn't good at all. And it's still it's still not that good, to be honest. Um, I don't know. It just when I'm programming, it's a lot easier to talk now because I'm doing something else and I'm able to explain it. But you know, this video right now, I'm face to face with the camera, and this this is it. There's nothing else to look at. I don't even know what's behind me. I guess I got my little Whataburger thing. I didn't even realize that was there. Yeah, it's just me and you having a conversation, but it's a one-sided conversation where I'm trying to think of what you're thinking of. But that's a little bit of a rant. To come, my Python. Let's see how good I can get. Something my buddy warned me about is that Python people are really into writing as little code as possible. And you know, he said don't get into that bad habit because obviously it's ridiculously hard to read like very simple, very compressed code. Very compressed code isn't necessarily good. I mean, maybe you're like, "Oh, this one line of code does everything." But, you know, from what I've been learning in clean code and from what my friend told me is it's impossible to read. It might work for you if you're just working on a project by yourself, but if you need to make changes in the future, it's very difficult to go back and understand what you did, and it's very hard to maintain. You know, as technology advances very quickly. I mean, I know on your phone you're always going through updates. You're getting updates, and in those updates, people have to modify their code to reflect the changes in the software that they're using. And if you don't write maintainable code or easy to read code that you can go back to months from now and look at it and know exactly what you did very quickly, you're not going to be able to keep up. If it takes you more than a day, not even more than a day, it could take months for you to go back and understand what your code does so that you can make that change. I know for a fact if I go to bed, if I start programming something and then I go to bed and the next day I try to pick up where I left off, it's just sleeping and then waking up and going back. I have to reread my code a lot of the times, and I have to spend like a few, maybe if I spend more than half an hour having to reread code that I looked at the night before, I'm doing something wrong. That's taking way too long, and honestly, it just slows you down in your projects as well, your personal projects, you know? So that's something I want to keep in mind. I just want to make sure I'm on the right path. Because when I get to those big companies, when I get to those big projects where I'm working with a bunch of people, I don't want to be that guy with bad code. I know for a fact that you all have had a bad coworker in a restaurant. I don't know, whatever. I mean, my personal experience is in a restaurant. I've had bad coworkers, I've had bad bosses. Um, and it's just, I mean, you gotta have to, I'm sorry, you have to pick up the pace. If you're working with someone who's a slacker, who's not good at their job, that's not good at what they're doing, you you suffer as their partner, as their coworker, because you have to fix fix mistakes they make, such as bad bugs, bad code, um, compilation errors, whatever. You have to fix that. Um, so the way I like to think of it is, imagine, um, my example is going to be at a restaurant. Imagine you're working at a restaurant and for some reason someone does half your job. So they go to the table, they take the drink order, then they take the food order, and then you pick up from there. So when you pick up from there, you're like, you go to the table, you talk to them, they're like, hey, um, this is the wrong drink. I didn't order this drink. So you go, oh, okay. So you fix that. Okay, fine. You know, that took a little bit of time, but that's not too bad. And then You come back half an hour later. It turns out that your guy didn't order the food. You know, for whatever reason. He left and he just forgot. But he gave you the ticket. He wrote down what they're eating. So you put that order in and you bring it over to the table, and the guy looks at his plate and he has just plain mashed potatoes. He's like, "Hey, can I get some butter?" And you're like, "Okay, you know, no big deal. Bring some butter over." Boom. And then looks at his dish and he's like, "Hey, you know what I just realized is that um this is pasta, and I actually ordered a steak." And that's pretty big. And at this point you're getting irritated, like you're getting pretty annoyed. And then you go back, take them their food. And then finally, the icing on the cake is, I don't know if you guys have ever been through this struggle, but on the system you use, if you don't separate each person's ticket when they ask for separate checks, it's a little bit difficult. It's not really bad, but it's just a little, it's an inconvenience. And finally you go to the table, they ask for separate checks. And that's it. Like you're extremely irritated, you're extremely annoyed. And I mean, I have that mentality where if I start something and if for whatever reason I have to stop and someone else has to pick up, I want it to be an easy, smooth transition. I want them to jump into it and just, you know, and just I mean, it's going to take some time for them to understand what I programmed so far, but I want it to be easy. I want it to be simple. I don't want them to be sweating over it for days, weeks, months. Um, just want it to be easy, smooth transition. And that's kind of what I've been learning from Clean Code. All right, so I think I've gone on a rant for long enough. Um, I'll see you guys later. Thank you for tuning in, and I'm really looking forward to what's to come.